My daughter asked when I was going to die. I thought it was just a phase. Until I read her journal. Kids say weird things all the time. You're supposed to laugh it off, chalk it up to imagination, or maybe something they picked up on YouTube when you weren't paying attention. But that morning, when my 10-year-old daughter looked up from her cereal, tilted her head, and said, "When you die, I want your room," I didn't laugh. There wasn't anything obviously wrong with her tone. She wasn't being mean. It wasn't even creepy, really. Just casual. Like she was talking about swapping shoes or trading snacks at lunch. But something about the way she said it made my skin tighten. I asked her what she meant, and she just shrugged and said, "Well, you always say you're tired." So. I thought maybe soon. I remember freezing there at the counter, holding my coffee in midair. I didn't know if I should scold her, laugh, or ask more questions. So I did what most parents do when their kid says something strange. I let it slide. I wish I hadn't. Because that was just the beginning. That night, I mentioned it to my husband. "She said what?" he asked, laughing through his beer. "When you die, I want your room," I repeated, trying to mimic her tone. Like it was no big deal. Like she was planning for it. He shrugged it off. "She probably heard it on a show or something. You know how she is. Always dramatic." He had a point. Our daughter, Maya, was the type to act out little soap operas with her dolls and narrate everything like she was on a reality show. She loved attention. But even still, something about this didn't feel like one of her performances. The next morning, she brought it up again, this time while brushing her teeth. "Do people get to pick their last words?" she asked, mouth full of foam. "Sometimes," I said, walking past with the laundry basket. She turned and looked at me through the mirror. "What do you want yours to be?" I stood there for a second, unsure if I heard her right. "You mean, when I die?" I asked. She nodded, serious this time. "Yeah. I want to remember them when I move in here." This time, I didn't laugh. I didn't say anything. I just walked out of the room. But that wasn't the last time she mentioned death. At first, I told myself she was just going through a phase. Maybe she'd seen something online she wasn't supposed to. Maybe it was a weird coping mechanism or a morbid curiosity kids go through. I even Googled it, child fascinated with death, and got a bunch of articles saying it's normal at certain ages. But it didn't feel normal. A few days later, I was folding towels in the hallway when I overheard her talking to her friend on the phone. Just casual chatter, until I heard her say, "Yeah, when my mom dies, I'll finally get the big closet." Her tone wasn't bitter. It wasn't sad. It was almost cheerful. Like she was talking about winning the lottery or getting to redecorate. Later that week, I found a page torn from one of her school journals. It had a list written in her handwriting. Mom's room. Her makeup drawer. Jewelry box. Bathroom mirror with lights. Keep the plants alive, she said it would make her happy. There wasn't a title. No to-do or wish list. Just items. Personal, specific, like she was cataloging a future that hadn't happened yet. And every time I looked at her after that, I started to wonder. Was this just morbid imagination? Or was she planning something? But the next few days made that question even harder to ignore. The real shift came when I noticed what Maya was watching. She used to love cartoons, makeup tutorials, anything with glitter or bubble letters. But lately, every time I passed by her room, she was glued to true crime videos. Not the dramatic reenactments or mysteries. The forensic ones. The ones that talk about methods, how people are found, what went wrong, what they missed. I walked in once without knocking. Her screen showed a paused video titled, 5 Untraceable Ways People Have Been Poisoned. She minimized the tabs so fast, you'd think she was watching something inappropriate. I asked her what it was, and she just blinked at me. Chemistry project, she said. She wasn't even in chemistry. Then there were the drawings. At first, I thought they were school assignments. Crude pencil sketches of houses, rooms, little stick figures. But one caught my eye. It was a drawing of our house, with all 3 bedrooms labeled. Mine had a giant red X over it. Maya's name was written in the master bedroom, and below it was a tiny note. Soon. Another drawing showed what looked like a funeral. A stick figure in a box, mine, clearly, and a little girl standing beside it. Big smile drawn on her face. I brought it up that night at dinner. Why are you drawing funerals? I asked casually. Maya just looked up from her plate, shrugged, and said, "We had to draw something from our future." She said it so calmly, so matter of fact, that I actually felt the fork tremble in my hand. I told my husband again. He rolled his eyes and said, "It's just a phase. You're reading into it." But part of me was already preparing for what came next. I started locking my bedroom door at night. I know how that sounds, locking your door from your own child. But after that last drawing, I couldn't sleep. Every little creak in the hallway made me jump. And it wasn't just the drawings. It was the way she started hovering near my room. Always watching. Listening. Waiting. One night, I came home late from the grocery store. My husband was out of town on a work trip. The house was quiet, dark, too still. When I went to open the bedroom door, it was locked. From the inside. At first, I thought maybe I had absent-mindedly flipped the lock. But when I jiggled the handle and knocked, I heard movement inside. Soft footsteps. Then nothing. "Maya?" I called, heart racing. The door slowly creaked open, and there she was, standing right in the middle of my room. Barefoot. Smiling. "I was just trying it out," she said. "Trying what out?" I asked. She looked around like she was inspecting a new apartment. "Your room." I wanted to see how it felt. I didn't yell. I didn't panic. I just told her to go to bed. But when I stepped inside, something felt wrong. The pillows were arranged differently. My robe was hanging on her hook. She had lit one of my candles. It wasn't just her trying out the room. It was like she had already moved in. The next morning, she said nothing. She just poured her cereal, sat down, and asked, "Do people get to choose what day they die?" That was the moment I knew I couldn't ignore it anymore. I started keeping a knife in my bedside drawer. It wasn't rational. I knew that. But neither was any of this. I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying her voice in my head, that strange mix of innocence and calculation. Do people get to choose what day they die? What kind of 10-year-old says that? And then, the next night, it got worse. I was crying in the bathroom. Quietly. Just trying to release some of the pressure without waking her. I'd locked the door. I thought I was alone. But when I stepped out, she was there. Right outside the door. Still. Silent. "I heard you," she said. I jumped. My hand instinctively went to my chest. "What are you doing up?" She tilted her head. "You sounded sad. But it's okay. It'll be over soon." I stared at her, and she just smiled. Not big. Not creepy. Just calm. Way too calm. "I'm helping," she added. That word sat in my stomach like a brick. Helping? I couldn't even speak. My mouth opened, but nothing came out. She turned and walked back to her room like it was the end of a regular conversation. I stood in the hallway for almost 10 minutes before I could move again. The next morning, I tried to act normal. I packed her lunch, tied her shoes, kissed the top of her head before school. But something inside me had shifted. And I could feel it, something inside her had, too. That's when I decided I needed to start looking for real answers. It all came crashing down the day I checked her tablet. I hadn't planned to invade her privacy, but after everything, I needed to know. While she was at school, I opened it. She had no password. Part of me wishes she did. There were dozens of tabs open. Articles about fatal household accidents. Forums with usernames I didn't recognize, except one of them was hers. I knew because it matched her email from school. The thread titles were horrifying. How long does it take sleeping pills to work? Ways to make it look like a fall. What to do after someone is gone, asking for a story I'm writing. At first, I tried to convince myself it was for a story. Maybe it was some dark roleplay thing. Maybe one of her weird doll dramas. Kids are weird, right? But then I found the list. It was a Google Doc, last updated the day before. The title: When Mom Dies. Inside were detailed steps. Wait until she's asleep. Quietly, the next word was blacked out, then rewritten as careful. Move her to the hallway if needed. Call 911 and say she fell. Cry. That last step. Cry. I felt my knees buckle. My stomach turned. I couldn't breathe. I printed the list. I didn't even know why. Proof? Sanity check? Just to make it real? When Maya got home, I couldn't even look at her the same way. She hugged me. She asked how my day was. She told me she loved me. And I just stood there, holding her, wondering if she really meant it, or if she was just following the script. That night, I locked the door. And pushed the dresser in front of it. It's been 3 weeks. Every night, I wedge the dresser against the door. Every morning, I check the locks on the medicine cabinet. I pretend everything is normal. I pack her lunch, sign her permission slips, smile when she shows me her drawings, though now I inspect each one like it might be a warning in disguise. My husband still doesn't believe me. He says I'm spiraling. That I've been too anxious lately. That I need to get off Reddit and stop reading into everything. He hasn't seen the file. I'm afraid to show it to him. I don't want to know what it means if even that doesn't convince him. And Maya? She's been sweet. Almost too sweet. She hugs me more. Says, I love you every night. Always asks. Are you feeling tired? Like she's checking. I don't know what to do anymore. Therapy? Maybe. But what therapist is going to believe me when I say I'm scared of my own 10-year-old? And the worst part is, I still love her. I tuck her in at night, brushing her hair back, and I wonder. Is there still a little girl in there, or just someone waiting for her turn at the door? I haven't slept more than 2 hours straight since the list. I keep thinking I'll wake up to her standing over me. I keep thinking, maybe I won't wake up at all. And every morning when I open that bedroom door, I hold my breath. Just in case today is the day she finally moves in.